What is with this goddamn shuffle? Why isn't it working? It keeps on going back to that same one song. Skip. There it is. I can't skip past this. What is going on? Can we play something else? This is a different song. Let's see if we press next. Oh, good. It worked. Okay. Space, you could make that work as well. So throw something like a Luna in there, and it's maybe not the safest game for Luna, but with the Keeper of the Light, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. The Juggernaut's going to be picked up from compLexity, acting again as a pseudo-ban up against OpTic, but first and foremost is a hero that can pressure the Centaur War Runner as far as killing him off. So that spin is going to be quite nice as far as threatening that Centaur. Together with the Disruptor and Chen's control, it's at least possible now for compLexity to make that happen. In between those spins, though, if the Juggernaut doesn't have any mana for whatever reason, then Centaur is still going to be really difficult to deal with. Juggernaut can't really harass Centaur Warrunner to the point where Centaur is super worried about his lane, especially if Coddle is going to be going with him, which or Rubik, both of whom are going to do pretty much the same in that lane up against that Juggernaut. I don't know if compLexity can really switch that up either. Maybe juggle that Sand King's lane a little bit, try to match the SK versus Centaur. I could see that doing quite well. But definitely a difficult hero to deal with. Mid lane, the matchup for compLexity going to be versus that Death Prophet. Definitely can go for pretty much anything, I would say. DK is a hero that OpTic will maybe struggle to kill off. They don't really have all that much damage. Again, Centaur Warrunner is very, very utility heavy. Very, very tanky, but damage-wise, he just doesn't do it. Death Prophet, especially the way OpTic play around her, is usually not going to be your absolute terror of a hero, as maybe if it was played by another team, would be a little bit more so on the top of the net worth chart and getting a lot more aid, but not really from OpTic's point of view. So if compLexity pick up a DK, go for these pushes with the Chen early on, they could definitely start the snowball rather early, and I could see them getting a lot done. That's a Shadow Fiend who is probably going to do some very similar things. The difference, though, is that there is going to be, though not much damage on OpTic, more than enough to kill off an SF. SF is just, his tank ability is nowhere near that of the DK. Yet still they offer you those very similar timings. Shadow Fiend is going to be in a little bit of trouble sometimes, does have to fear those Rubik rotations, but for the most part up against the DP, should be doing just fine in that matchup as OpTic grabbed the Void last. This is an interesting selection here from OpTic. Faceless Void and Centaur, these heroes don't really do great with one another. There's not really much synergy there. And Rubik, Coddle, these aren't really your Disruptors and Witch Doctors, these heroes that can just dump damage into the Chronosphere. Keeper of the Light, I guess, can illuminate, and that's kind of nice. But Faceless Void, yeah, I'm not really sure about that. Like they do definitely need a little bit of kind of initiation / team fight from the OpTic side of things. Centaur as the sole hero to start engagements is rather underwhelming. So that in that regard, Faceless Void isn't terrible, but at the same time, he's going to be going up against Sand King, Disruptor, especially this Disruptor, a hero that just makes Faceless Void's life absolutely miserable. And in this match, but versus Juggernaut, Omnislash is something that you can time walk away from, but it's so easy for compLexity just to Burrow Strike Omnislash or Static Storm Omnislash, and then you're just dead as Faceless Void because your health pool isn't really going to be that high. Like, what items do Faceless Voids usually go for? What's the first health item they get? I don't know. What is the first health item they get? I guess, like, Power Treads, maybe. If you consider that a health item. I don't know if you would. But, like, usually it's Madness. Sometimes you see Battle Fury. Sometimes you see Shadow Blades. These are all just really kind of paper-thin items. SNY, not really a Faceless Void item. So his health pool usually stays pretty darn low. Not really a huge fan of this Faceless Void. But if OpTic are able to get this Keeper of the Light to a decent degree of power, you always have to watch out for these Aghanim Scepter timings. Faceless Void is a hero that can play around those timings as well. Just wait for those Chronospheres and wait for that to line up with the vision and the heal ability you get from the Aghanim Scepter Illuminate. Yeah, and Faceless Void can participate in those engagements, especially if he does not get insta-killed, which is really useful. But in this particular game, OpTic won't really be able to rally around a Keeper of the Light and kind of play around those timings as much as they ordinarily would. In fact, I usually would see Zai playing the Coddle. At least the times I've seen Coddle from OpTic, I think Zai has been playing it. So PPG, of course, he can play the Coddle. It's just a little bit of a difference here. As honestly, I'd rather have Zai Rubik on my team. Zai Rubik is definitely a thing. That's definitely very scary. Especially if he's going to be roaming around. Helping out a DP and Centaur in those lanes that telekinesis, really high value. Kitrak is going to blow the smoke, and OpTic, they have no idea. That's not something you see very often, a hero kind of hiding in this corner. And it worked, man. It worked to blow the smoke. That probably would have timed out soon anyway. So, whatever. Let's look at this lane setup for OpTic. It looks like Moo might be camping out in this bottom lane. Chen probably will be giving him that help. Yeah, Chessie top, Limp mid as the Jug and Shadow Fiend. Nothing too out of the ordinary here from the OpTic, from the complexity side of things. On OpTic, Pycat will be going towards that top lane. It looks like Chessie finds Zai, immediately burns the spin. And that's going to do a lot of good damage, though very expensive in the mana pool department. Probably worth it. This is going to mean that they're going to be less likely to do those creep pulls, you know, from here down, those things. As expected, CCNC is going to be playing that DP over in the mid lane. Lift up into a Siphon on someone like a Shadow Fiend is definitely a feasible way of getting those kills. That is, if OpTic decide to actually do that. With this lane setup, they are going to have the Centaur going up against that, not Sand King, actually. Chessie's going to swap in Centaur with PPD. We'll have a decent time up against this Juggernaut, simply because this is happening on the Radiant safe lane. If this same exact lane setup of Centaur versus Juggernaut, or Centaur Coddle versus Juggernaut was happening over here, it would be really, really bad for OpTic, because spin would actually be a useful tool. This lane is so short, like, creeps are going to stay here most of the time, so, like, you can't really spin for that much length of the lane. That means 33 is going to have the time of his life. He's just going to be able to bully the Juggernaut, kind of keep him away, threaten that stomp. And though Centaur doesn't really have many stomps to spare, oh. Do you think he is stomping? He is stomping. I wonder if Chessie is going to jam that Blade Fury or if he's just going to take this damage. This damage is going to be pretty sizable to stomp. Oh, he does land the stomp. Here comes the Illuminate. He's going to have to spin that one off. But that's the threat. That's the threat that Chessie faces, and that's the threat that will be increased by quite a large margin once the Double Edge comes in. Then you don't have to spend mana for it. You just spend a little bit of health, and you absolutely crush the Juggernaut's health pool. And mana actually isn't that much of an issue either, because he's just with this Coddle. So Chessie's in a really tough spot on that bottom lane. Of course, Moo is going to have a absolute fantastic time in this scenario. Sand King versus Faceless Void. Rubik is here, but Rubik can't really do all that much to swing this lane in favor of the Void, because Void just doesn't have any offensive power. Unless he's just getting all the bashes in the world, which currently he doesn't have. So good luck doing that. This lane setup for complexity is definitely going to cost Chessie quite a bit. But in the effort to stop Faceless Void with this setup, this is what they really have to do if they want to stop Faceless Void. Like, if that's the priority, this is the strat. Also looking at Z-Freak on that Chen roaming around. So far has just been doing the couple of creep send back over in the bottom lane. Has grabbed himself a Hellbear, but ganking this bottom lane is really difficult. You can, in certain situations, go and help Limp over in this mid lane. Currently, the SF is doing pretty much evenly versus CCNC. But as the raises come up, the threat is going to increase. 33 gets jumped, though, does just butcher that poor Hellbear. Z-Freak's going to haste himself away, and in the meantime, Zai in a rough spot here. There's a Burrow Strike, and that means Zai's dead. I don't even think they need the Burrow Strike. He just can't escape. He has no boots. He's going to turn around for one more right click, but that controls just a little bit of movement speed differential there. We'll give the Sand King first blood, and as the Faceless Void in that off lane, there's just absolutely no scenario where he can help. Unfortunately, that Rubik is just caught in the wrong neighborhood. And speaking of the wrong neighborhood, CCNC pushed so far up in this lane. In fact, on the other high ground, he's going to get a Siphon onto Limp, but this is okay for the Shadow Fiend, because that's resources out of CCNC's pocket. And they are setting up for a wraparound here. Here comes the Chen, although the Centaur's going to be spotted. That's smoke. Didn't quite last long enough. Took a really long path there. I think he went like here and checked here before he went up. But the DP's doing just fine. We also see 33 absolutely rolling in this lane. 2 points in that hoof stomp. Looks like he's altering his build a little bit because he does have that chakra magic with him. Double Edge is not something that the keeper can heal up. Not yet. Not yet. Maybe that'll come. Chessie's having a tough time. Can't really afford to get close to this wave. We do have a little bit of a wraparound onto Limp. Zai does have only level 2, though. Lift up into a Siphon. That's not that dangerous. Having this little mana on the DP, so I do like this idea from OpTic. This is definitely a good move, especially on the 4-minute mark when darkness falls, but it doesn't seem like the mana situation and even the health situation for DP is really conducive to going in for an aggressive play. And now that the smoke is worn out, he's sitting under an obs. Not anything you can do about that. You still have Z-Freak on the roam. He's going to grab yet another Hellbear. PPD is going to run into him. Now this is the true battle of the century. Chen with no creeps versus Coddle. But he's just been farming. Not really many opportunities for this Chen to make any sort of kill blows. Can't really go for the Faceless Void. Ganking him as Chen is very, very difficult. And Chessie doesn't really have the resources to help out should an aggressive attempt be made on the bottom lane. So Z-Freak's kind of stuck roaming around to no real end. He is still going to go towards his bottom lane. Maybe set up for an attempt here. Onto PPD it's possible, but this Juggernaut is really, really worse for the wear. He's going to pop that healing ward, and now he has no mana, so there's a lot of time where Z-Freak is kind of just applying this really passive pressure. Limp in the meantime, getting siphoned. One more swarm is just out of range, I think. I think otherwise would have gotten the kill. This poor Hellbear, man, he can't do anything. Coddle's so quick. 385 movement speed versus the 320 of Hellbear. Of course, Chessie only has the brown boots right now. I mean, the CS-wise, he's actually still getting a lot, but really for the lanes from OpTic as far as what the cores are gaining, it's pretty much perfect. Every core is getting pretty much exactly what they want, despite going into lane matchups where you would assume they'd be under a little bit more pressure. Like this mismatch here of 400 gold of Moo versus Pycat is not that bad for OpTic. Of course, the Sand King is going to have, you know, his Soul Ring, his Blink Dagger a little bit faster. There's nothing really that OpTic can do about that. But they are still getting a decent amount on this Faceless Void, so everyone is going to have items in this game. Because all these cores are actually just like trading CS perfectly. These supports have had not really the ability to make any sort of significant impact here. As a Coddle, you kind of expect that. As the Rubik, he's been trying. As the Chen, he's been trying. But it just doesn't seem like there's any opportunities. So it's just going to be 6 minutes of just really passive farming. This Juggernaut's farm is definitely a concern for the complexity side. He's not doing terribly, but a Juggernaut that's behind, really, really hard to get back into it. You can make a couple of rotations, use your spin, use your Omni Slash, kind of play like a Terrorblade or a Luna. But it is also, you know, you're front-loading all of your damage into just those two tools, and if you can't get the kill, or even if you die for it, like use an Omni Slash, get the kill, then die, you're not really super happy about that. You need to be able to survive those engagements, and for that you need a little bit of stats. Drums, phase boots, power treads even. Not quite there just yet. Why the hell are they sacking the Juggernaut? They're sacking the Jug so that Moo can have a really great time. And he is having an absolute fantastic time. Unfortunately, doesn't have eyes on Pycat. His smoke is going to break, so he now knows that someone's up there. But the Sand King is level 6. Absolutely unpressured. Now, if the Sand King was up against that Centaur, you do quite a bit of harassment damage with that Caustic. And that might be adding up, but I'm not really sure if that's an overall net gain for them. Now the Sand King is level 7. It's time to work. The Centaur, though, has a barrier. He already puts it up the spin, doing no damage, therefore. He's completely surrounded, but he's just going to walk out of there, or rather run out of there. And that is an unfortunate timing for complexity. As soon as Moo lands that TP, the same exact time, 33 picks up his hood. So that means he's pretty much unkillable to these type of heroes, and they will find Keeper of the Light level 3 versus that level 7 Sand King is quite the mismatch, but Pycat's going to get jumped, or jump on Kit Track rather, Chronosphere, and get the kill on top lane. Just an even 1-for-1 on the supports. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a really smart move for complexity. Get Moo at level 7, immediately rotate out, try to get a kill, but first of all, you're trying to kill off a Centaur. Dude is fat as hell. 4.3 strength gain is kind of broken. It's a little bit powerful, but with that magic resistance as well, like no chance for a Sand King to make a significant impact on a Centaur. He can make a significant impact on Keeper. He's trying to run Intercept right now, but I don't think the angle is quite good enough for Moo. He will find himself in the mid lane. Burrow Strike with 3 raises, level 4 in that. a chance, but you really need just perfect positioning. But now that you see this rotation, put Chessie in this top lane, where up against this Faceless Void, things aren't really that dangerous for the Jug. And have Moo, I was going to say roam, but it looked like he's going to make his home on this bottom lane. Definitely putting this Sand King on the roam. Trying to apply some pressure towards mid seems like the best thing to do. Chessie's going to get lifted up. Omni Slash onto Zai, immediately kills him off. And there you go. Use the Omni Slash, get kills, and crucially, he doesn't die. And now picks up the power treads. I mean, it's only a kill on a Rubik. It's not anything he's going to write home about. Dear Mom, I got a Rubik kill today. Are you proud of me? Your son, Juggernaut. But as long as you keep using this Omni Slash whenever it's on cooldown, you should be a happy Jug. Or a happier Jug. Got kind of an empty movement from CCNC as well, trying to look for that kill. He is still up on top with the Exorcism, so it won't be an empty movement. He'll just pop those ghosties and go to work. You know, a little bit of pressure from compLexity over in mid, but Coddle's stopping any attempts there, so not really much of an opportunity. Now Disruptor, he does have 2 points in the Thunderstrike, gone for the harassment build. Not really what he wants right now. Pycat ducking into the trees. I think they did see the ghost disappear, so they will know that the Death Prophet teleported out. And Pycat is pretty safe here. CCNC actually teleported towards the mid lane, where this tower was pretty healthy. Now isn't. This is an Exorcism Catapult push. And it is very, very quickly going to fall here. Creep Wave as well, just gone. Shadow Fiend does get the tower deny, however. That is rather impressive. But OpTic still take that tower down. And maybe now it's time for PPD to try to get a little bit of cash money. You know, Zai is usually going to be playing the little more of a farming support role, but just with these heroes, you'd expect PPD to just end up with a lot more gold than Zai. He doesn't really have to work for his gold. Zai does. He's going to get this tome. He's going to try to feed that Rubik, that level 6, as fast as possible. You're going up against a high-level Sand King, so having that spell steal is definitely going to make a difference here. Able to steal Epicenter, you actually do get a good kind of Chronosphere combo. Or even just Burrow Strike. Just Burrow Strike into the Chronosphere with your buddy. Moo. Maybe trying to set up for an Epicenter out of the trees. Dire Scan, Radiant Scan, I think they're stacked up. One of them was red, I couldn't tell which one. I still just want to get this move, the Sand King, this Blink Dagger. This is compLexity kind of hitting a hiccup in their timings, however. And the Chen hasn't really had a significant impact in this game so far. He is level 5, and he's working with quite the goon squad here. But overall, they would expect that the aggressive power of SF would at least be able to you know, put some serious pressure on that mid lane. And it's his lane that was pressured the entire time. Opting for farm on the Sand King, as opposed to that Jug, means that they have to make something happen with this Blink Dagger. Otherwise, their laning decision is pretty much going to result into no yield for them. So, with this Blink Dagger, looking for Pycat perhaps. There's the Blink Burrow Strike. Static Storm is going to be there, and with the raises, they will take down the Faceless Void and Zai, who also just stumbled in. Chessie was able to put him in the blender. Off in the bottom lane, though, the Chen got jumped on by the Centaur Warrunner. His creeps as well, at least one of them going to fall. Nice 2-for-1 for compLexity, and that is what they need to do. Use the Sand King and try to ride him to a Juggernaut advantage. Finds 2 with the Burrow Strike. Actually, no, we only found 1. 33 got yanked in after the Burrow Strike, and now Moo did not expect that Centaur to come in that quickly. Although with the field, they will be able to disengage away. 33 has a Blink Dagger. He does not have a Stomp. Pycat has a Chronosphere, though. He's going to get teleported all the way back to the fountain. So this Chronosphere not going to do all that much except for let CCNC get into position. It lets up the Juggernaut, but he's able to get the spin off. The Ghost damage, not enough with the Hand of God, will be saved. Kittrack will not be, though. He'll get glimpsed right back to his doom. The Chronosphere for OpTic only yielding that 1 kill. That is not what they wanted to see there. But that is just what Disruptor does. That's Disruptor through and through, man.
Is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So OpTic's ultimates are down. compLexity can very easily go for Roche now. Especially if they get this PPD kill. Throw strike a little bit too far there. Moo is going to take quite a bit of damage, but got heroes coming from the back, so PPD will fall. Moo is dusted. He does have a lot of backup here. 2 raises. And now PieCat, he actually doesn't have a time walk out. So he's just dead here, it looks like. Glimpse right back. Yeah, he is dead. He time walked into that. Man, if you time walk in and take 2 raises, you are a sad faceless void. That is for sure. So compLexity now off of those picks. This is going to ultimately justify their laning decisions. Because all of these picks are happening because of this Sand King. And of course, everyone else just kind of rallying around him. So they'll take down this tower. Again, they can go for Roshan very easily. There's still a very long period of time where this Death Prophet does not have Exorcism. They have Chen creeps to tank. They have the Shadow Fiend and Juggernaut, both of whom can do damage. Seems like they think it might be a little bit too risky, but cooldown-wise, with no Chronosphere, no Exorcism, I don't know if there's anything to fear from going for Roche. I mean, they have the Medallion also on the Chen. Honestly, a little bit surprised they're not going straight for Roche. I guess they do have to tend to these lanes a little bit. Maybe opting for tier 1 towers instead. Definitely objectives that they can take and will be a lot less risky in taking. Like, if you try to go for Roche and you get jacked up, that's bad. Like, you give Roche to the enemies and things just turn to shit. But if you go for these tier 2 towers and fail, tier 1 towers and fail, then you just don't get them. Like, you may lose a couple heroes, but it's not like you give over a huge advantage to OpTic. compLexity making the safe play. As OpTic, they are starting to push out now with some ultimates coming back online. Still, Death Prophet, yeah, she has hers. And the Radiant scan is going to reveal a Sand King. You gotta assume this is either Kittrack or Moo. 33. Oh, the ghosts. The ghosts found him with the Centaur jump in. Moo is dead. Tier 2 going to be put into a blender as well. This Ghost Exorcism push. Substantial. And we got the TP back from PPD. He's going to yank someone else in. This push is kind of just a half-hearted one. Over in top lane, tower does go down. Over in mid lane, Z-Freak starting to push that one out as well. But Chessie just trying to farm up that Battle Fury. Doesn't really want to be involved in any sort of huge pushing or fighting. If he had his Battle Fury or a level 2 Omni Slash, then he would be joining these fights. But seeing as though he has neither, this is a pretty weak point for a Juggernaut. So OpTic strike back to use their Exorcism, still have that Chronosphere. And PieCat, I feel like he definitely needs that level 4 time walk. Get that that cooldown reduction. Not really farming the best right now. And he is able to do quite a bit of damage thanks to that Mask of Madness, having maxed out time lock. But again, staying in that Chronosphere and actually hitting things, unless you get the perfect Chronosphere, is not exactly safe. You Mask of Madness, you start hitting things. If you get Omni Slashed, or if you get hit with a couple of raises, you gotta fall back. Or if you get hit with the Static Storm, you can't time walk out of it because you're berserked with the Mask of Madness. You're fully committed if you decide to Mask of Madness in there. Uh-oh, PPD is in a little bit of trouble. Glimpse right back. Okay, the Omni Slash didn't actually kill that Coddle. He has a point booster, that's why. But they still use the Omni Slash, get the kill. And now decide to go for Roche? They do have the Static Storm. They did pull out Stampede. It does feel like that Chronosphere is just looming. Going for Roshan with the Chronosphere on the enemy's side still up is rather bold, especially with bottom lane pushing in. So this is an interesting decision for compLexity to do this now instead of a couple minutes ago. This tower is going to take some serious damage. No Exorcism, but no problem, man. I don't know. They definitely do have this in the bag. Again, Healing Ward making this very safe. Chen's got creeps to tank, and they do have the Medallion constantly being reapplied by Z-Freak. Bottom lane, push will be defended, it looks like. CCNC is free and clear. Ooh, Field almost went up in time. They do end up getting that Aegis. It looks like that was unpunished. But OpTic really aren't that strong now. They have a Solar Crest almost up on CCNC. They are just trying to rely on just spells. Try to get this counter push going to keep them in this game. PPD though, he is gonna get chased down. Boulder toss from the Mud Golem as 33 does jump in, fails to hit that stomp onto Moo. And now they're kind of splitting their forces. Moo gonna straight TP out. He should be fine. And yeah, he will. Yeah, OpTic really needs to have a Chronosphere land on someone. Or just a hell of a lot of bashes on GESC. That'll work, I guess. No Omni Slash in the jug, but it is level 2 at this point. Exorcism and Omni Slash now up. OpTic can take one fight. Ooh, can't quite find him. That's the problem here for OpTic, is that this is the type of team comp that absolutely needs their ultimates to fight. And compLexity, they do definitely get a lot stronger once they have, you know, the Omni Slash up, the Epicenter up. But it's not quite as much of a necessity. Plus their big ultimate cooldowns, like Static Storm cooldown, isn't really that long. So they can fight pretty consistently. compLexity's decision to fight into OpTic is rather bold here. They really have to look for a deep initiation, but they don't have any vision. In fact, they're sitting under Radiant Obs. So Moo's movement is spotted. They are going to just walk in, take the tower. Still, Podcat is not really worth much offensively, unless he has his item. That's a Shadow Blade, so now he is worth something offensively. Now he can actually start considering joining these fights. And they definitely do need that source of control. Centaur Initiation is clunky. Again, he's really tanky, but that's about it. CCNC. Oh, silence and then TP out. Easy.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Jesse does have that Battle Fury right now. More importantly, though, he has that level 2 Omni Slash. Which actually makes it a viable killing tool again compared to that level 1. They are just straight pushing this top lane. PPD Coddle. This is the best hero, support hero at least, to defend against this. Problem being, over here there's no vision for the Radiant, and Moo is, I think, not going to see the Coddle. It is darkness, mind you, so vision range not all that high. Tier 2 on the bottom lane will be finished off here as Coddle is going to do what he can here. Blinding Light, Illuminate's coming out, maxed out Illuminate. And this push for compLexity without having picked off that Coddle is going to cost them quite a bit. Bottom lane's being pushed with a siege creep. No one's teleporting back for it. They will send back the Sand King. They do get their tower. Yes, a little bit of pressure. The big deal off of this, though, is that OpTic didn't have to spend any cooldowns. They still have that Chronosphere. They still have that Exorcism.
Time is money.
Illusion.
And it looks like they are just okay kind of just sitting on this. I don't think they should be, though. It definitely feels like if they position themselves very aggressively, especially around this offensive observer they just placed, try to use some of those cooldowns, that'll get them in a really good spot. And they will do so now that they see a couple heroes still on top lane. compLexity have been chilling top for a very long time right now, and that means Moo is vulnerable. He does get lifted up, so his Blink Dagger will be cancelled. He'll drop right into a Chronosphere and a Siphon. Sand King is going to get hit with the Hand of God, but the TP of the Shadow Fiend immediately lifted up, and now bumped down to the low ground as the ghosts tear him to shreds. Here comes Chessie. Omni Slash will be split and will bounce most into 33. Does nothing up against that Crimson Guard. He's going to try to go for Zai, but no one's on top of CCNC. The Siphon's still working away. Lim's forced to buy out, it looks like. And now CCNC, actually that was just the Aegis, will just do all the damage in the world with the Ghost. Pycat looking to get a bash on the Chessie. Will get sent back to the base as the Requiem is going to keep everyone from chasing. They do take down the Aegis of that Shadow Fiend. 2 other heroes to fall as well. That is a full duration Exorcism in the fight. And CCNC just gets full healed off of that.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And that's just that that one split second of vision there that PPD got on top lane. Sees a couple heroes on top, and then immediately makes that call. We can fight bottom lane because there's heroes on top lane. You don't have to worry about that. What do you get? Zai got spin. It's also very unfortunate there for the Juggernaut. This is physical damage, mind you. PPD. Uh-oh. Stampede countered by Yule Scepter. And looks like he probably is just dead here. Oh, he's trying to run, but glimpse back. Blinding Light is there. He's going to chuck out an Illuminate, but I don't think that's going to help. But yeah, Centaur with that Crimson Guard, man, gets so much additional armor. You don't get the damage block. I don't think that does anything versus the Omni Slash hits. I don't know if there's enough attack speed on this Jug to get those extra hits in between yet. But still, like, you're Omni Slashing 2,000 HP worth of Horseman. Not gonna work out in your favor. With 10 armor as well. That's a decent amount. 33 will blink out straight into Limp. Takes 2 shots, and that's about no damage. Going for CCNC, that's a little bit more viable here. He is a little bit softer. Chessie closing in fast with Moo as well, but pop the block guard on the Crimson and can't go for that any longer. Pycat behind them. Does have a Chronosphere armed and ready. He's going to be in an awkward spot behind this tier 2 tower. This OBS was placed. I think someone immediately pinged it. That might have been complexity pinging. Pycat is itching to use this Chronosphere. Problem is that there is this OBS here, so they have to smoke in. Pycat has an opportunity for a 2-man Chrono, now only just a 1. I don't know if it's worth using Chrono onto just Chessie. He is still going to Shadow Blade forward. PPD charging in. Up towards top, it's Zai chilling in Sandstorm as Chessie going to start that spin. Zai takes quite a bit of damage, but he's still alive. And Chessie's going to get sent back to the base, so no big deal there. Z-Freak as well will be fine. And OpTic just can't quite find that opportunity to get in there. Good spacing for complexity. PPD just very, very close. In fact, does have the Aghanim Scepter. And that vision, man, that vision is going to be huge. Of course, you also do get, you know, all the uptime on these 2 additional abilities. You get the healing from the Illuminate. But in this game, when this is the main threat, that's when you really want to have that full flying vision. Of course, being able to de-ward on top of that is very nice as well. And I cannot believe he actually survived that Epicenter. I thought he would just die to that. He's going to die, but he does have that Aghanim Scepter. Making sure that OpTic get the initiation off on their own terms with 33, with the Chronospheres. That's how they win these fights. Currently, the complexity vision isn't super extensive, but complexity definitely do need vision to enable Moo, and if you take off those observer wards off the map, then even the disruptors like it's a lot more difficult to those glimpse plays. Top lane, Pycat's shoving, and over in mid lane, looks like we do have an Aghanim Scepter up on Z-Freak as well. So these quote-unquote supports, man, they're working with some pretty heavy farm. Including that Granite Golem, so a lot of HP. They're going to Burst Strike in, but the Chronosphere lands onto 2. CCNC is going to jump right in with the Siphons and the Exorcism. Static Storm is going to be in the middle of the fight as Sand King is going to be the first one to fall. OpTic, they're going to manage CCNC and Pycat very well. Get the kill on the SK. Dodge that Static Storm almost entirely. The Omni Slash is going to use it and then get sent back to the base. Kind of mid Omni Slash there, but you're invulnerable during the Omni Slash, so that's a safe play. Now Z-Freak hit with his own penitence. Stolen by Zai. And that Chronosphere, man. That Chronosphere with the perfect setup for CCNC. Just all the time in the world to get into position. Wasn't really on the best targets, but definitely caught complexity unawares. And that Static Storm was used mostly to try to keep the Sand King safe from CCNC. Unfortunately, it was just off the mark.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And now they're looking at Chessie. Uh-oh. Spin TP. Pycat first hit bash one time. Okay, can't even hit him. Well, can't hurt first hit bash then, although DP does have a BKB, will dodge the Burst Strike with it and be forced to run. That's a 10-second, I think. 9 seconds. Into the Roche Pit. Again, this is the timing that complexity has that OpTic simply won't. They don't need their big ultimates to fight, but there is going to be Illuminates coming in. PPD, it is going to be a Darkness Roche attempt as with a Blinding Light almost shoves Moo right into him. But he's going to just put that mischance, slow it down just a little bit. I don't know if they can go in. They're going to jump in instead onto the Chen, but Chen's not the problem right now. The Radiant do kill off Roshan with that Illuminate, actually. So that's a little bit extra cash there for OpTic. Chase is on, though, Moo. Only viable kill is that Centaur. I'm not really sure if he's viable to actually kill off. So they do get away with the Aegis and the Cheese. It's like a Cheese, Shadow Fiend, Aegis, Juggernaut. But the cooldowns, they're up again. And in fact, Pycat might even get to that level 18 mark before the next fight breaks out. And it's, even with the Aegis, even with these Ancients, it's difficult to push up high ground up against a Coddle like this. A Coddle and a Faceless Void. This is a pretty ballsy move, honestly, for compLexity. Like, even threatening this push up against a Faceless Void is seriously brave. And the creep wave doesn't last long at all. I think there's one hero with a pipe, and that's Centaur on the other end, so the creep wave is just going to get insta-gived every single time. They're going to be on a very, very persistent clock here. Pycat is level 18 at this stage, and hell, he'll even go for a little bit of pushing of his own. Battle Fury will thin the creep wave very quickly, and he does have a TP back with really no way to mess with that from compLexity, so they're going all in on this push. And into a Coddle, this is kind of what PPD dreams of. This is the Coddle dream right here. Like, hey, the enemies are just constantly pushing in. They do deactivate the backdoor protection, jump in towards that Coddle. No, not enough damage, though. He will be fine. The jump back in for 33 wipes out the Aegis, and Pycat has teleported back. They do have the lift up, and they will Blinding Light the Juggernaut way too far back into the Radiant base. Omnislash will buy us some time. Now the Chronosphere drops, lands onto 2, and separates the fight entirely, so Chessie is all alone. Pycat even going to be able to take down Z-Freak and Kit-Trek at the same time. Chessie will be chased down, and now the chase is fully on. Limp, though, is Shadow Fiend, so he is very, very quick. They're going to try to nail down some of these Ancients. Looks like the Granite Golem probably forfeit here. Even penitenced, if that's a word, which it probably isn't. But that was, again, inherently a really brave move there for compLexity. Yeah, you have the Aegis, yeah, you have the Cheese, but you don't have a creep wave to actually help that push. So you just gotta YOLO in and hope you find good initiation. But up the high ground, it's not quite gonna happen. And that Chronosphere from Pycat lands onto 2, cuts everyone off from that Juggernaut. Chessie at that point is helpless. Like, he can't do anything. Now the push is back the other direction. Now, this is also going to be quite brave from OpTic if they decide to try the high ground. They don't have their cooldown, so they have to fall back. But they take that fight in a pretty clear fashion. Unfortunately, can't get any objectives off of that. Can't force any buybacks, but in eliminating the Aegis from the Juggernaut, that's value in and of itself. And look at this. The first health item the Faceless Void gets. I guess he does have the 15 talent health. He has 1900 HP. That's not bad. Level 21 SF. Dude is very, very bulky, actually. Like, all these items are kind of overly defensive, even. The argument can perhaps be made. The OpTic side, they are doing primarily physical damage. Faceless Void, Death Prophet. But the Stomp in does land the Kit-Track. This poor Disruptor going to be focused down first. Moo's going to land a pretty nice Burrow Strike in the background. Omnislash does go off, but again, it's kind of bouncing between one too many heroes and doesn't do that much damage. Pycat now going to land the Chronosphere with the Cleave there as well. Juggernaut and Shadow Fiend both taking an absolute truck ton of damage. Here comes the Epicenter from Moo, but the BKBs are still up from OpTic. They'll wipe the cores, and now the Sand King is going to fall last, it looks like. Sandstorm trying to book it, but Pycat's right on his tail. It's a double kill for PPD of all heroes. And that is, once again, OpTic fighting just on the razor's edge of their cooldowns, but it works out. I think that Chronosphere cooled down in the middle of that fight. And compLexity, even though they do have all this durability, suffering from a severe lack of damage. Like, yeah, you're tanky and all, but Centaur's making his entire team tanky. Faceless Void with BKB, the Death Prophet with the same, and even Death Prophet, 2500 HP with a decent amount of armor, and not to mention Siphons. That's just good game. again, the complexity issue, let's say, from what we've seen from most of their games, is that they have a really, really clear direction with what they want to do in their draft. And we've seen it right here now. Like, this draft from complexity, it clearly has a goal. It clearly just wants to hit this really powerful early mid-game timing. When you do have the Chen, you have this Juggernaut, you have the ability to jump in, get the kills, and then take towers. But they just can't quite do it. I don't really know if, like, falling back after the second Aegis was the play there. But it definitely seemed like they were lacking a little bit of direction. I don't know who's making the calls on complexity, but they definitely seemed like they were all kind of doing their own thing. And for OpTic, they just had to weather that storm. They knew that at a certain point they had the game in the bag. Like Juggernaut, he had a decent amount of gold income, but this Shadow Fiend, he just doesn't do that much damage. At least not compared to what the team actually needs him to do. And for OpTic, they were just getting farm on everyone. So it's going to be a push defended here for OpTic Gaming here in GESC NA qualifiers. Guys, winner of this match faces up against VGJ Storm in best of 5 tomorrow. So we'll see if complexity can stay in it. I'm Mike Loris, and I'll be right back for the second game.
10 seconds remaining.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to GESC Thailand's NA qualifiers. We've got complexity, we've got OpTic Gaming, and this is going to be game 2. Loser is out, winner faces VGJ Storm in a best of 5. Thankfully not today, it's going to be tomorrow, but still it's going to be tough for whoever wins this match. OpTic did endure the push from complexity from game 1, and maybe they just have complexity's number. Since the complexity shuffle, they have, it feels like almost exclusively, kind of run these strats. They've just been going for these really aggressive timing pushes, and it's been working out to a decent degree. I mean, this is the, I guess the penultimate match, so they've been winning a bit. I don't know what's been going on with complexity in their matches in other tournaments, but maybe it's time to bust out something a little bit different. The Coddle pick from OpTic just stopped complexity cold. They did not have an offlaner who would be going for a pipe in order to facilitate pushes. Like, if they had a centaur, obviously the game would look a lot different, but like a hero that had a pipe, a hero that would actually let them force those structures, then they could actually get away with their plan. But seeing as though they just didn't have that, they were kind of forced to just sit back and wait for some picks. Most of the time, OpTic were ready for them, especially once that Aghanim Scepter comes up on the Keeper of the Light. Defending high ground is so easy from just that one support hero, not to mention the fact that everyone else they have their own threats at defending that high ground. Of course, that Chronosphere is an absolutely huge threat. You have this Crypt Swarm in order to thin out those creep waves even further. You have just so many answers. And now for OpTic, they're going to get their hands on Tiny. The Chen is going to be banned out, though complexity did just play it themselves. That is something that OpTic play just as much, if not more, than complexity. So for sure, an understandable switch up there. Supports, Ancient Apparition still is in the pool, but Rubik and Witch Doctor both taken out here by the OpTic side. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see complexity first pick that Ancient Apparition. Static Storm, Kinetic Field, if Kitchak wants to play the Disruptor once again. Really good tools at answering that Tiny. Maybe not as much so damage-wise, but all the Disruptor's control styles, they match really well up against the Tiny, because status resistance just doesn't do anything up against the Disruptor. They'll take a Venomancer first pick instead, along with that AA. So just massive magic damage from the complexity side. So AA, I don't think that's any surprise to anyone. The Venomancer first pick is something that they've been doing to a decent degree of success. I think most of the time from complexity we've seen Limp play this. I think it's actually almost exclusively Limp playing the Venomancer in the mid lane. So OpTic should know that that's coming towards them. Again, this is just overwhelming magical damage, and even though there is like damage over time, the damage style of magic versus tiny dots matches up really well for complexity. If they have any way of keeping OpTic in the middle of these fights, then they can just kind of steamroll every single fight that they're in. But currently, complexity, they don't have any control. They have a couple of slows here and there. Definitely need some hardcore stuns to really make this matchup work. And for OpTic, they're going to say, screw you guys, we're not going to deal with that. We're going to ignore what you're doing over there with that team fight brewing, and we're just going to go for Nature's Prophet, who, OpTic, they have played as a support in the past. There is a chance for a Pycat Tiny 33 Nature's Prophet, but I would say Zai Nature's Prophet and 33 Tiny is a little bit more likely. And for complexity, that's not something that Venomancer really wants to deal with. Venomancer's a really slow, grindy hero. He's going to slowly push your wave in and eventually get to your tower, killing off every single creep wave along the way. It's not like a bad way of pushing, but it's something that he can't really... it doesn't match up well up against the Nature's Prophet style of play, where he just says, okay, you can slowly push my wave. I'm going to quickly push your other 2 lanes, and you're going to have to come back, or we race, in which case I win. So, really like this pick from OpTic. No huge synergy between Nature's Prophet and Tiny. I guess you could just get a lot of pickoffs. 33 very frequently does go for just like pure initiation. Hell, let's be honest, Tinys usually go just for pure initiation. So, getting that initiation style with the Nature's Prophet, you don't even need to TP in most of the time. You just throw that Wrath of Nature, add a little bit of a nuke into it, and usually you're going to be getting those kills, especially since Ancient Apparition and Venomancer aren't exactly known to be tanky. So will complexity stick with this game plan? Mu is going to have his Underlord banned out. I wonder if Beastmaster is going to be taken out as well. That Hawk with the Ancient Apparition is really powerful.
5 seconds remaining.
And Mu does play that a lot. He also plays the Underlord a lot, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. It kind of seems like compLexity are going to be going for a very similar type of strategy as in the last game, with a whole bunch of different heroes, but kind of the same end goal. On the OpTic side of things, PL, Lifestealer, both going to be taken out. PyCat definitely getting a little bit of respect here, but we saw even in the last game, not really like the perfect Faceless Void game, still was able to get a hell of a lot of farm and really dodge the fights, at least dodge fights that he needed to dodge. A BKB carrier or magic immunity for OpTic is going to be very important up against these two magic-based heroes. compLexity will get even more magic damage with their Earth Spirit. So Earth Spirit AA, classic combination. One of the better heroes at handling a Nature's Prophet, though it is, I think, kind of a pickup because they can't get the Sand King, which compLexity would rather have if given the choice. But that's, of course, banned out, so not viable. OpTic should be just looking for their supporting crew. Again, I'm assuming this is going to be a support Nature's Prophet. We've seen quite a few teams, at least in the NA qualifiers here, experiment with that, and it's been working out pretty darn well. They could just... Bane's not incredible here, actually. It's not really an easy way to stick in those fights. Maybe not going to go for something like that. Getting a Static Storm from a Disruptor seems pretty powerful from the OpTic gaming side. They can go for a Dazzle, actually. That seems... It's something that OpTic did do against Storm, and they lost with. But Dazzle, Nature's Prophet, the Weave isn't going to be incredible, but the Sustain definitely will be. It definitely got some potential here. Along the same lines, Oracle, like, as far as a defensive hero is concerned, like, you get that straight magic immunity with that Edict. It seems like a pretty powerful option for OpTic. And again, they've shown themselves to be willing to pick up these kind of weirder support heroes, these less common support heroes. And kind of, even in like less than perfect scenarios, just go with it. Now, they get the Disruptor. The difference between Disruptor and Dazzle Oracle is that Disruptor plays defensively by stopping the enemies from getting their offense out, as opposed to the Oracle and the Dazzle who play defensively after the spells have been cast. They will, after the fact, get the health up and get the survivability up. So this is going to be OpTic saying that we're going to still be assertive. They do have the Nature's Prophet, and I assume at some point in this game a Shadow Blade Tiny. So Disruptor will not really struggle too much with his vision range. Maybe we'll be bullied quite a bit here. With an Earth Spirit on your ass and a Venomancer slow is a little bit difficult to manage yourself early on, as compLexity will have a very, very devastating first 10 minutes of the game with this opening. Tiny Nature's Prophet aren't slouches, definitely good at trading hits. But once shit hits the fan, compLexity should be crashing in just a little bit harder than OpTic. And especially now that they have a Sven, so will be the pretty classic, just straight counter to the Nature's Prophet. Together with the Earth Spirit, they do have, now a couple of stuns, being able to keep the enemies in so that the Venomancer Nature Apparition damage can actually do something. So you got Sven, Earth Spirit AA, a rock-solid combo, but then OpTic pick up the Abaddon, so that's the defensive hero that I'm looking for right there. So it looks like it might just be a... Well, I don't think CCNC plays Tiny. I don't think I've seen him play that. The 33 Abaddon, PyCat Tiny. Now looking for a CCNC hero. The Abaddon is certainly very powerful here, but compLexity with their lane setup is so deadly. Like even a hero like Abaddon, who usually is going to be fine up against this this type of aggressive style, is definitely a viable kill. Nature's Prophet is really a powerful hero in poking at the lane, but versus an Earth Spirit, versus a Sven, heroes that can just kind of ignore those treants, go straight on top of the heroes, means that Nature's Prophet lane control is going to be lackluster. Does Nature's Prophet only have 4 fingers? You guys seeing that? They all have. No, Sven has a lot of fingers. Sven has the proper amount. Is there like some lore thing going on here? What's going on? What is happening? Maybe, I guess they're just not human. They're orc-looking disruptors. Orky, I guess. Or is that racist? It probably is. Not all orcs, guys. Not all orcs. But compLexity should just be looking for their Mu hero, I would expect. Again, Beastmaster's looking really, really nice for them if they want to stick to their guns, stick to what has been working in the past. I could also see something like a Nyx Assassin doing decently here. Maybe not going to get any like huge mana burn value or anything like that, but actually Puck. Puck seems incredible here for complexity as well. Moo Puck. Again, just some way of keeping the enemies in a certain area is really all they should be looking to do.
5 seconds remaining.
Or just get even harder initiation, which is, of course, going to kind of do the same thing. On the OpTic side of things, Juggernaut will be banned from them. Maybe CCNC does play Tiny. I don't think I've seen him play like anything but Viper and DP. Like, at all. Did he play anything else? I think he played one Sniper. Maybe he did that. I can't quite remember. But, yeah. The Abaddon and Tiny, definitely an interesting lane setup. But, yeah, I think the Abaddon is definitely worth the pick. And obviously at this point, it's too late to reconsider your Tiny. OpTic don't have much time here, so PPD's got to bust out something. And he is going to make his decision. Who is that? It's a Weaver. That is risky. Weaver is not in a situation where he's going to be playing up against no control. For sure, there is control and a half from complexity. Earth Spirit, fantastic at that. The burst damage for complexity might be enough with that Sven. If you're able to jump in onto the Weaver, land that Boulder Smash, Stormhammer, you can definitely kill him off. But the advantages of Weaver is that the dots on the complexity side won't really affect him all that badly. You'll have the Abaddon to purge at least some of them off, and now complexity are going to grab that DK for probably for Moo, actually. I still would expect a Limp Venomancer Moo DK for that offlane, and it looks like it might be that. But PPD Disruptor, Zai Nature's Prophet, it will be a CCNC Tiny up against that Venomancer. Can't really expect that much help as CCNC ever, especially when your support is going to be coming from a Disruptor or Nature's Prophet. If you do rotate in with the Disruptor, you can teleport in with Nature's Prophet, and Tiny can put a lot of damage onto a Venomancer, but getting into situations where that's actually viable is really, really difficult, because Venomancer's just going to be grinding down your lane. Again, just picking up those points in the wards, and Tiny has really no way of dealing with that. He's 0 base armor, so those Plague Wards usually don't really have relevant damage output versus heroes unless they're like stacked up to like a 4-5 stack. Just a single couple hits on Tiny, and the damage definitely adds up. So that's looking like an ironclad mid lane there for complexity. They now have a lot of physical durability with this DK and the Sven. Venomancer, he's like kind of more so on the softer end, but he's able and willing to pick up these extra defensive items. It does seem like this is, I don't know, an awkward setup for OpTic. Hero matchup-wise, it's not terrible. It's just the fact that they do have a lot of reliance on the Tiny and the Weaver to do damage, when the Tiny and Weaver, at least in lane, are going to be running into pretty sour matchups. The Tiny especially is going to have a difficult time, I would expect. And if they had a different support hero cast other than Disruptor Nature's Prophet, I would say this could probably be a lot better, but if CCNC does in fact go towards mid lane, he's really not going to get that much help. Pycat's going to start scuttling over towards the top lane, and 33 probably will be going towards, well, he does have what looks like a mid lane build. Well, let's take a quick beat, and we'll pause there and see what the lanes are actually going to look like for the OpTic gaming side. I expect for complexity it's just going to be your pretty standard stuff. Moo off lane, Chessie. He's going to be playing that Sven, probably Limp mid, and that's about it. Treant is going to bump into a couple of smoked up targets. They're going in pretty deep. Unfortunately, it looks like they're not quite running in the right angle. You don't want to mess with the Ancient Apparition level 1. It is going to be a swap, it looks like. Yeah, and this does look like a little more of a mid Abaddon. He's got a lot of regeneration on him. 5 tangos. Mid Abaddon safe lane Tiny with CCNC with 33 playing mid. Okay, that's going to be a little bit better. And again, that weakness of Pycat just Shikuchi all the way out to place the Zobs, that's kind of cool. The weakness of Tiny versus Venomancer is that he's not getting any help. The Abaddon still won't get any help if he is going to go towards that lane. But he should be able to manage himself just a little bit better because he doesn't really need as much of the Tiny. What is going on with these lanes? Okay, no, Pycat is going bottom. CNC is going top. And, okay, yeah, that makes a little more sense. So the Weaver on this bottom lane is going to be going up against one too many heroes to be comfortable. But it's a Weaver. Killing him off is always very difficult. In the meantime, CNC, the all of a sudden off lane hero for OpTic, is going to be going into a really nice matchup against the DK, where he will have just overwhelming base damage advantage. And again, it's because there's a tri-lane on this bottom lane, Tiny can expect that to be a little bit of an island, and CNC is used to that. And in this matchup, he should be winning it. Or at least not losing it. Yeah, he should be doing just fine. On this bottom lane, though, this is where Zai is a very, very risky hero. Kitrak's already pretty banged up here, but they're going to get the hammer onto the Nature's Prophet. Zai is going to try to race for first blood, is going to fail, however. Die and then get the kill on Kitrak. Pycat does have the Shikuchi here, though, taking quite a beating. Chessie gets tagged with that Shikuchi, and Pycat will retreat. Yeah, but this is a very delicate lane here for Zai. In long, drawn-out lanes of periods of passivity, then Nature's Prophet here is king, because he's able to do stuff like that. Walk these Treants in, get some free chip damage, not a lot of damage, just a little bit here and there, and use these Treants to kill off friendly creeps. Get those denies, if necessary, get the CS. Once they decide to fight compLexity, once they decide to roll in, then Nature's Prophet becomes kind of a useless hero and isn't really able to do all that much. So right now for OpTic, the name of the game here is trying to avoid real engagements by getting more effective chip damage out onto compLexity. Very, very difficult to make sure that sticks. And in the meantime, over in the mid lane, 33 is going to be going up against this Venomancer. Again, this Baden is going to be doing just fine. He should be getting a decent amount out of this lane, though will not be able to apply any significant pressure to Limp. They're going to go in with Pycat a little bit too far. He did not expect this Sentry to be here. And Shikuchi's all well and good, but level 1 Shikuchi has a very, very long cooldown. At least as far as Shikuchi's cooldown are concerned. It feels like forever. So a little bit of surprise there for Pycat in that Sentry ward. See, over in the mid lane, everyone is going to be CSing freely. The Sven, though, only 2 CS to his name. Pycat, though he did go down, is in a situation where he's probably going to be a little bit more in a safer spot. Oh, the Abaddon does have a shield, and I think that will get him out of there. Juan charges into shield. What build does Venomancer have right now? 2 Sting, 1 Gale. They do catch Chessie in the field with the bugs on him and the Thunderstrike. That's a lot of damage over time, but not quite enough to get that kill, as they will actually kill off 33 in the end. Okay, Poison Sting did the deal. This does a lot of damage, guys. This does a lot of damage. It's slow, but the shield was weakened beforehand, so it looks like it was just enough. I'm going to load out with more Tangos. The thing is with the Abaddon here is that if he dies a handful of times against the Venomancer, up against the gank, that's fine, man. Abaddon is okay with that. Tiny is not okay with that if he's the one to die. And Tiny is, as you can see, doing just fine in this top lane. Getting quite a lot of that tree grab, and again, we'll need a little bit of regeneration. As I expect the DK is going to be going, yeah, for the Soul Ring. So he's going to be taking those Breathe Fires, and that does hurt a lot over time. Plus makes your last hitting and general damage output kind of miserable. It's like 25% damage reduction. Yeah, that's a lot of minus damage on a Tiny. But overall, I would say the other 2 lanes here for OpTic are working out quite well. They're going to get the initiation onto the Weaver. Shikuchi movement speed is going to get Pycat out to safety, however. Zai, you can see, is taking an absolute beating in the meantime, as Warcry is going to start to fade. And Zai's doing a lot of damage to Z-Freak with that Orb of Venom, or the Corruption Orb. They will go on to Chessie and get the kill before that hammer can come out. Blightstone. Why do I still call it Orb of Corruption? God damn you, Warcraft 3, you've ruined my brain. Is it even called Corruption? It is called Corruption, so there you go, I'm right after all. Yeah, we're trying to go for Pycat in that situation. You gotta insta-kill him. Or, you know, mostly insta-kill him. And we can see that Nature's Prophet, once there are heroes on top of him, he's really just in a position where he has to race for damage, and he does do a lot of damage because of that Blightstone. A little bit more minus armor thanks to the Swarm. They just have to wait out that Warcry, however. Once that goes down, then the damage kind of flows freely from this bottom lane. I gotta say, I like this adaptation quite a bit from from OpTic. These lanes for complexity were going to look like this pretty much no matter what. And they are doing still really well on Mu. Limp is having like the freest Venomancer game of all time. We'll see what build he wants to go for. If I recall correctly, he went for Veil, Blink, Ags in the last time we saw Limp play. He even went for the Poison Nova Duration talent. Definitely have a lot of options when you're in a Venomancer lane where there's absolutely no resistance. They're going to get the initiation off onto the Disruptor. Puts up the field, but he is down. You can see Thunderstrike is leveled up to 2 at this point, so just going for the damage value, but complexity, they are able to freely initiate on a hero that really doesn't have any means of defending himself. Just an easy, easy kill. Somewhat of a concern, though, is the fact that Chessie, though he is getting these kills for the team, 2 for himself, it's not bad. He's not getting any CS, and they're not stopping the Weaver from farming. So this lane for complexity is becoming more and more of a lane where they have to rely on getting kills. And to some extent, they're going to be bound by mana, but that's not really too much of an issue. The extent is, who do we kill? Because they have to have really deep observer coverage for Pycat. He's leveling up the Shikuchi. He's getting to that level 6 mark closer and closer. Zai's in a very, very bad spot, but they don't actually see him. Okay, now they do see him. Can they do anything about this? No, Nature's Prophet in the woods. And you're trying to kill Nature's Prophet on his own turf? You can't do that, man. So this Sven is going to need to pick up some farm. He's only level 3 at this stage. That is not where he wants to be. PPD has rotated out. The Disruptor, I don't really know what he can do in this mid lane. Sting is maxed out at this stage. Just look at that damage. These things apply freaking Poison Sting also. It's so much dot. And Disruptor, I mean, he really wants to be playing over here, but it's clearly not a safe place to be. I don't know if he can go for Mu either. Maybe CCNC actually has decent levels in the nuking abilities. In this lane scenario where you're both on an island, though, for sure Tree Grab is going to be the most cost-effective tool, mana-wise. Means that he kind of has to stay on an island up until the point where his Toss and Avalanche are leveled up a little bit more. Until that happens, there's really no point in anyone going up towards that top lane. PPD is in the wrong neighborhood. Can't TP yet, and now he can't TP at all. He's actually going to get frozen in place. Easy kill. Yeah, he just wanted to place an obs to keep track of this, mostly. And, I mean, I guess he was able to pull out a sentry. But this is how this Sven gets back into it. Not really with the most CS. He'll have an Ancient stack to fall back on, and that's just something that Pycat will never really be able to do. Mu versus CCNC on top lane. You do have to keep in mind Nature's Prophet is in play here, so Mu may feel comfortable going for it right now, but at a certain point, there are going to be defensive rotations just from that one hero. Chessie. There is a Sprout here, but Sven does have that Quelling Blade. Although the body blocks from the Treants with the Warcry movement speed, he will slip right around them. You can see though, just with a handful of right clicks in the Swarm, Sven got messed up and is now off the creep wave. Even though Chessie's not having a great game, Limp is just crushing it, man. As expected, 33 is not really getting all that much. But his lane now is going to be punished by this slow grind. He does not have any range nor any ability to kill off these Plague Wards in any meaningful fashion. And they're maxed out along with the Sting. So Limp, if he wants to, can just make this mid lane his home. Kind of put up a gigantic nest of wards right here with a couple off to the sides to keep him safe. And then just keep on pushing this wave out. Alternatively, go and actually use this damage to go kill people. Either way, I don't think OpTic will have many answers to this Venomancer unless Venomancer goes in alone into a really bad spot. Which is possible. Limp might suddenly become like a really terrible player and just do that. But I don't think it's very likely. This is an absolute terrifying Venomancer game. Having no good hero matchup against him is really going to cost OpTic here. And that's kind of weird because Venomancer was picked up so early. Like, you would expect OpTic at that point to be like, okay, it's going to be a Limp Venomancer in the mid lane. We're going to pick up this generic mid lane hero and get this support hero to really sit on that Venomancer, 2v1 him, and make sure he's not going to get much done. They kind of just accepted that Venomancer was going to be winning that wave, and now they roll in towards CCNC, though he does have the Grow. The status resistance is going to unleash him from that. He will be just fine. Weaver and Sven just farming happily on this bottom lane until Zai comes in. Chessie TP's out. Cannot touch him there. In fact, there aren't really many heroes on OpTic that can do anything about that. They will have CCNC go for that Blink Dagger, though. And Moo is going to find himself a Nature's Prophet. Lands a Dragon Tail, and with the Power Treads doing some sizable damage, though. 33 is there to get Zai a little bit of space. Highcat is going to look to cut Moo off. Treants now completely blocking off this Dragon. He will find a way to slip through, but the Treants are actually going to slide in front again. Dragon Tail goes off on the Highcat. Shield goes off, and will get rid of that stun, but now Highcat's overcommitted. Needs to time-lapse. Can't get it out. And gets jebaited by promises of DK kills. Weaver at this point does not do a lot of damage. Shikuchi is pretty much his only offensive tool there. And with Power Treads and Ring of Aquila, I mean, it's a decent amount of damage overall, but not up against a Warcry Dragon Knight. You need a lot more damage than just a Weaver. So compLexity are able to make that rotation out, get Moo involved. He's almost had a Blink Dagger of his own, in fact, very close to it. CCNC is going to have an impact with the Blink Dagger of his own. Zai will teleport into Kit into place. They still will kill off that AA, but Zai will be the trade. Kind of an even one there. Zai gets the kill, and I guess Limp comes in and gets need a lot more damage than just a Weaver. So compLexity are able to make that rotation out, get Moo involved. He's almost had a Blink Dagger of his own, in fact, very close to it. CCNC is going to have quite a significant impact with the Blink Dagger of his own. Zai will teleport into Kit Track, get frozen into place. They still will kill off that AA, but Zai will be the trade. Kind of an even one there. Zai gets the kill, and I guess Limp need a lot more damage than just a Weaver. So compLexity are able to make that rotation out, get Moo involved. He's almost had a Blink Dagger of his own, in fact, very close to it. CCNC is going to have quite a significant impact with the Blink Dagger of his own. Zai will teleport into Kit Track, get frozen into place. They still will kill off that AA, but Zai will be the trade. Kind of an even one there. Zai gets the kill, and I guess Limp need a lot more damage than just a Weaver. So compLexity are able to make that rotation out, get Moo involved. He's almost had a Blink Dagger of his own, in fact, very close to it. CCNC is going to have quite a significant impact with the Blink Dagger of his own. Zai will teleport into Kit Track, get frozen into place. They still will kill off that AA, but Zai will be the trade. Kind of an even one there. Zai gets the kill, and I guess Limp need a lot more damage than just a Weaver. So compLexity are able to make that rotation out, get Moo involved. He's almost had a Blink Dagger of his own, in fact, very close to it. CCNC is going to have quite a significant impact. Kind of an even one there. Zai gets the kill, and I guess Limp comes in and gets